Hello and welcome everyone. Your host, Rav Ahuja. Our topic for this chat with the labs is leveraging clouds for small and big data. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that if you'd like to download the presentation slides for this webcast, you can do so by going to ibm.com/db2/labchats, LABCHATS. That's ibm.com/db2/labchats. Our speakers for today are Leon Katznelson, Program Director for the Information Management Cloud Computing Center of Competence at IBM, and Yuri Budnik, Director of ISV Partner Programs at RightScale. Don't let their titles fool you. They're both very technical people and experts in this field. We also have joining us for the question and answers panel, Josh Fraser, Vice President of Business Development from RightScale. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Leon to begin the presentation. Over to Leon.
Thanks, Rav. If you could put us on slide number 3, which is the agenda, we'll start from there. So today what we wanted to address in this webinar is a number of topics, all of them around cloud, but we wanted to talk about the data that is, we are all familiar with in a traditional sense, the data that's managed by relational databases, and DB2 in particular, as well as to talk about the challenges that the big data, the new hot area, presents, as well as the way that IBM addresses those challenges. And we wanted to introduce to you how we do this on the cloud for both the traditional data, which is stored in relational databases like DB2, as well as the big data. And we're very pleased to have with us today Yuri and Josh from RightScale. RightScale is the company that I say that people who really do cloud rely on. So without further ado, we could go to chart number 4. We're going to begin with DB2 first. It's a topic that's probably more familiar to most of the people on this call. And I really wanted to focus on what we do with DB2 on the cloud. Chart 5, please. When I talk to database administrators and database professionals in general, there's a great deal of interest in the cloud. And one of the things that I have observed is while there is keen interest in the topic, is most of the professionals around the data are not the ones who are sort of the prime operators of the data centers. So they are not directly engaged in the selection of the data center deployment strategies or are the selectors of the cloud. However, the C-level executives are, and they're constantly looking for advice on how data is going to play in their strategy for moving the business towards more of a cloud deployment for the IT assets. So there are many different reasons why companies may consider going to cloud. For some, it's the cost of the infrastructure. For others, it's the capital investment versus paying for the ongoing costs. Others look to cloud as the way to improve their agility or quality of the software that they produce or the applications that they deploy. Our strategy around DB2 and the cloud is really based on the fact that says we're not here to tell you why you should or should not go to the cloud. But we do want to make sure that if you do make a decision to go to the cloud, that you can rely on DB2 and our big data products to be cloud ready. Chart number 6, please. What do we mean by cloud ready? So our cloud ready strategy is based on 4 pillars that we do. One of them obviously is technology. So we do have cloud ready technology permeating our offerings. This goes all the way from virtualization to multi-tenancy to ability to deliver data and database as a service. We spend a significant amount of effort and engineering talent on workload management, and no conversation around cloud ever goes without mentioning security at least 3 times. So we are really focused on all of the aspects that make that technology of our products cloud ready. But technology alone is not what drives people into the cloud. It is the consumption model that most people are interested in. And we are, I believe, are very unique in the industry in the way we've tailored the consumption models and pricing for our products to fit the cloud model. We are in a fairly unique position of being able to offer our products as both consumption-based pricing, where you can pay only for the resources that you use and only when you use them, as well as to continue to use traditional model of an upfront payment and the sort of support and maintenance payments ongoing. And we provide for flexibility in licensing, where you are able to deploy your products, never having to go back to IBM and Vision, as well as to be able to move your licenses freely between your on-premises deployments and the web deployment. And we believe this is critical. It's a critical aspect of providing your customers the flexibility when you purchase the licenses for our software to be able to use those licenses in a way that you see fit in the changing environment that you operate in. Another pillar of our cloud-ready strategy is what we call open and ready for any cloud. And I'll spend a few more minutes on the next slide on this. What I wanted to talk about next is the 4th and final pillar of this cloud-ready strategy, and that's dealing with risk. So there's a lot of talk in the industry about the risk of the cloud, and I certainly have my opinion on this. I don't think cloud inherently is a risky proposition. However, what is risky is a change. The cloud is something new, and with anything new, you are going through a change. And what we believe is critical is for us to enable the progression through this change with a minimum amount of risk. To do that, we've put a number of things in place for our products and information management in IBM that allow you to provide an easy on-ramp onto the cloud. And that's one way we mitigate the risk. We also make sure that we preserve your existing investments so you're not starting new, either from skill, from licenses, or from operational efficiencies. We provide an on-ramp into the cloud. And last but not least, I do want to put a plug in for our team, which is the IM, Information Management Cloud Computing Center of Competence. We are an organization that's in place to help you, our customers, and our partners to be successful in any endeavors you have in the cloud with our products. We're not a professional services organization. We're just a friendly team to help you here. We don't charge for our services, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you do decide to go into the cloud, and I hope that after this webinar everybody will, that you do give us a call, and we're very easy to reach. I'll give you an email right here. It's imcloud@ca.ibm.com. Please feel free to use it whenever you feel like you want to talk to somebody. Chart 7, please. So I left the cloud ready for any cloud as something to talk about right now. As with the on-premises IT resources, they do come from a variety of providers. So you may have IBM as your IT provider, or HP, or Dell, or whatever. In the on-premises world, well, the same situation really exists in the cloud world. You may be building your own cloud, which is called the private cloud, or you may be using cloud resources from one of the multitude of providers that are there in the industry. IBM, by the way, is a cloud provider. We operate a cloud called IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise, and as you would expect, our products are available there, both DB2, as well as Informix, as well as big data products or Big Insights, and many others are available in the IBM Smart Cloud. We also work very closely with Amazon Web Services, which is a very popular cloud, which is the forerunner of cloud computing in our industry, and we also make all of our products available in the Amazon cloud. We recently have signed up with GoGrid, which is another cloud provider, And you'll notice in here that we have IBM Workload Deployer, which is something that's new. We've released it, the previous version of this product was called WebSphere Cloudburst Appliance, or WCA. We've relaunched this as a IBM Workload Deployer in June of this year, and we're offering significant capabilities for building private clouds with that appliance. And in this webinar today, we're joined here by RightScale. RightScale is a cloud automation platform. We're very pleased to have been working with them for over 2.5 years now. And RightScale is a multi-cloud management platform, which does allow us to bring the benefits of both private cloud computing as well as public cloud computing all through a single platform. So we can now deploy to Rackspace, for example, as well as Amazon and others. And also deploy into the private cloud where you can have a cloud.com or Eucalyptus cloud stacks. Next chart, please. Chart number 8. But I wanted to switch from a bit of theory in here to some practice. There's no better way to learn how to run things in the cloud than to actually go do it. And there's no better way to go run DB2 in the cloud than to actually go put together a website that is based on DB2. So what we've done is to enable exactly that. We do provide a capability for anybody who wants to go and learn this with hands-on to launch a website. You can launch it for free for a year. It will run on the Amazon cloud. And this particular website is it's running on DB2 Express C. It's an all-in-one instance. That means it's on a single instance. It runs a DB2. It runs a web server called Nginx. It runs a complete application stack called Ruby on Rails. And it runs a content management system called Radiant CMS. The reason it's free is because it runs in something called a micro instance, which Amazon makes available at no charge for a year for new customers. The most surprising thing about this, it's a very small instance. It's only 613 megabytes of memory, but you'll notice we do run a complete stack, including DB2, in that instance. There is a tutorial at the bottom of the chart. It really is very easy to get started, and the picture you see on the chart about 10 minutes after you started yourself. So it's a very quick process. You can do this sitting in a couch, and in the end, you actually have a complete DB2 in the back end in there that you can connect to and operate and experience on the cloud yourself. Next chart, please. Another thing that we've done is we are using these facilities ourselves. We have launched a couple of educational properties. One is called db2university.com, another is called bigdatauniversity.com, and they are, as you would expect, both run on the cloud, and as you would expect, they both run on DB2. We have a tremendous uptake in the number of students who are enrolled in there. It says in here 10,500. I believe we're actually going to reach 11,000 today. I looked at it this morning. It is a platform that is managed by RightScale, and we're very thankful for that. It does leverage DB2 technologies such as high availability disaster recovery. So those of you who are following the cloud space, you may have heard of the outage that Amazon had at the end of April of this year. I'm very happy to report that our properties have not been affected. I hope this is because of our superior technologies we're using and be able to locate DB2 high availability cluster across multiple availability zones. But maybe there was a little bit of luck involved in that as well, but we'll take that. I do encourage people to go and take courses in there. It's free. We call it at your place, at your pace education. There's no teacher standing over your head telling you to do your assignments. You do it when you have time and when you feel like it. And you can do it from the comfort of your couch or your desk. Next chart, 10, please. Another exciting way to try DB2, and actually to try the next version of DB2 that we're very proud of, that's going to be coming out hopefully shortly, is a version we codename Galileo. You can try this out in the cloud. It's very easy to get started. There is a link in here. You actually get enrolled through my blog, which is called freedb2.com. You apply for that, and for a select number of customers, we will actually work with Amazon, who is providing the infrastructure for running this program, with some credit, so to offset any charges that you may have for running in the cloud. In case you're wondering what is the picture in here and what's the significance of the picture, this is actually me flying on a Air Canada flight that had a Wi-Fi connectivity. And I was so excited that the first thing I did is I connected from my laptop to the DB2 Galileo in the cloud, and I took a picture, which raised a few eyebrows of my fellow passengers. Number 11, please. So there's a couple of resources on this page that I would encourage you to visit, in addition to the db2university.com and the tutorials. Next page, please. Page number 12. So at this point in the presentation, I'd like to transition to the big data space, and this is a very exciting space for us. We have entered this market a while back with our product called IBM InfoSphere Streams, actually about 2.5 years ago. And we have followed that up with an entry with our IBM Big Insights product in May of this year. And we've seen a tremendous uptake in this. The industry overall has been transformed in its interest towards big data. So there's a great deal of excitement for the big data solutions from both the almost 300% increase in capital funding in this area, as well as our customers, where we're seeing customers from all walks of life coming up and expressing their interest in the big data solutions that we have. Chart 13, please. So we've been working with a number of customers in the big data space, and one of the things that comes through in all of these conversations, I think, is that our customers are challenged with one really fundamental problem. They are actually collecting more data than they think they can process. And they know intuitively, and sometimes empirically, that they're actually losing the value that is inherent in this data. I'd like to use one example of that, and this is an aircraft manufacturer who came to us. And what they've told us is that every time one of their commercial aircraft takes off and lands, over 1 terabyte of data is collected. And in about 90 minutes after the aircraft landing, that data is destroyed. Now, just imagine the value that that aircraft manufacturer could have extracted, operational value for all the systems that are on board of that airliner. What value they could have extracted if only they had the capability and the processing capacity to do that. Next chart, chart 14, please. We believe that the big data challenge presents organizations with a big opportunity to extract new insights, to improve their decision-making process, and to improve their business plans. We are dealing with massive volumes, variety, and velocity, and these are the defining characteristics. It's a really cool term that I think we've coined in IBM, which is 3Vs. So we're talking in here about the velocity, the variety, and the volume of data, and a lot of that is self-evident from the names. But in today's world, sometimes the difference between being on top of your competitive game versus being in the bottom and exiting the market can be measured in milliseconds. So we believe that the velocity of the data, not just volume, is a critical component to that. Our research also indicates that over 80% of the data is not structured, and it's not stored in relational databases. And this is, it's a tremendous deal of value that goes unrecognized when we don't focus our processing capacity on extracting value from that data. So we believe that fundamentally The problem of the big data is not just the volume, it's not just the velocity, but also ability to deal with both structured and unstructured data in its variety. Next chart, 15, please. Another thing that we've observed is there is not a single industry where these issues and challenges are present. It goes across the industries. We in DB2 have had a very strong foothold in finance sector, insurance, transportation, and others. And we're seeing, with big data, we're seeing a great deal of expansion across many more sectors. We're seeing expansion in the energy sector. We're seeing a lot of interest in the healthcare, where we have monitoring of the premature babies in a hospital, or analyzing thousands of data points feeding in from medical equipment. We're seeing these solutions demanded in the finance sector for risk analysis, as well as fraud detection and analysis. There is a whole range of solutions and a whole range of issues across all industries that we're seeing in there, including our own IT industry, and this is one of the things we refer to as IT for IT. Next chart, please. Chart number 16. So through our customers' engagements, we do see a set of common patterns. We see our customers looking at analyzing their customer relationships better, being able to draw the insight from social networking interactions that they have, being able to analyze existing transactions and influence future transactions, being able to upsell and cross-sell, being able to analyze marketing campaigns to a whole new level. And this is, in general, we refer to this as sentiment analysis. There's a great deal of interest in, as I said, IT for IT, where we have log analysis, ability to analyze fault and machine data from network switches, from servers, from all sorts of equipment that's out there. We're seeing a great deal of work being done in retail sector, where the customer interactions are analyzed and modeled, resulting in better understanding of the customer behavior. So there's a range of usage patterns out there, but all of them have common requirements. The common requirement is a large variety of data, great velocity of the data, and the volume is so huge, and being able to extract the business value out of that. While most people talk about the big data and talk about the existing solutions not being able to address the challenges, but it does not mean that we can just discontinue use of the existing solutions and all of a sudden switch all of our efforts towards the big data. Today's enterprise needs to integrate what is already in place with the big data solutions that they have. And that's really one of the common requirements that we see all the time. The origins of the big data technologies, many of them, come from large-scale internet portals like Google and Yahoo and LinkedIn and Facebook, which have used open source technologies extensively. When it comes to the enterprise, there's a different set of challenges that is quite distinct from what large-scale internet portals like LinkedIn or Facebook may be facing. And we do see this as a requirement from our corporate customers. Chart number 17, please. So what I wanted to spend next few minutes on is really to talk about the IBM's approach and how we're addressing these challenges. Number 18. So our approach to dealing with big data is based on ability to deliver this as a platform. So it's not a set of point products or even a single product. It really is a comprehensive platform. It's a platform that is built on what we call big data enterprise engine, which deals with multiple aspects of the big data, both big data at rest as well as big data in motion. And when we talk about the big data in motion. The building block in there is our InfoSphere Streams product. And we're talking about the big data at rest. We're talking about the Big Insights product, or InfoSphere Big Insights product. We also provide a layer on top of that, a very comprehensive, rich user environment that addresses the needs of developers, end users, as well as administrators who need to administer and manage these solutions. And then there's the ecosystem of both IBM and partner products on top of that, which not only provides the end user solution and the big data applications, but also integrates with the existing infrastructure the company may have, or the BI solutions that the company may have, as well as the operational data store that handles the everyday business of the company. Next chart, please, number 19. So this chart really summarizes what we believe are the key points and the key requirements that our big data platform supports, validates, and implements. So as I mentioned before, variety, velocity, and volume is what we focus on addressing in the platform. We are growing the platform to focus on analytics. We're looking at being able to analyze data coming from different sources and going to different destinations, all sorts of data, and doing this in a very dynamic way. Another key point, and I mentioned that before, is providing a rich environment that allows developers and end users to build analytic solutions based on this platform. We are focused on the enterprise, and we're delivering the platform in a way that the enterprise can consume it. And last but not least, integration is key for many of our customers, and that's a great focus for us. Next chart, chart number 20. Now, this platform is a vision. It is not completely flashed out and delivered. It is a work in progress, and we're growing it, and this chart gives you an indication in the directions we're growing this platform in. We're focusing on industry vertical solutions as well as the horizontal solutions in various spaces. So we're putting together what we call accelerators to help you get greater value out of the platform, more than just the execution engine. We're also focusing very strongly on the integration of different other data sources that are present in the enterprise. Chart number 21, please. Just a couple of things about the Big Insights product, and this is a summary in here. Big Insights is our analytical platform for data at rest. It is based on the open source Hadoop technologies with the IBM value add on top. One of the key distinguishing characteristics of the Big Insights product is it's not just Hadoop. It's got built-in analytics, and these analytics are both from the end user tools. We have a spreadsheet-like capability in our Sheets interface, as well as a very deep analytical capabilities for text processing and others. The hallmark of the Big Insights differentiation is also its enterprise integration and its ability to fit into the enterprise platform deployment. What we believe our IBM advantage is, it's not just the technology side, but we also believe that its ability to bring together our expertise, our software, our hardware, and our services, and especially our research, because this is a fast-evolving field, to this area is what's differentiating this. Chart 22, please. This chart shows what we deliver in terms of the actual products. So as I said before, our InfoSphere Big Insights products are built on the foundation of the open source Apache Hadoop project. What we do then is we package it up for the enterprise consumption in two versions. One is called InfoSphere Big Insights Basic Edition. It is a free product that you can download or use on the cloud, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And you can use it in any which way you would like. We do offer optional support with that. And if you would like to get a richer, more value-based product, we do offer Enterprise Edition that offers all of the security, analytics, and other components that you would want in the enterprise product. But what I'd like to do next is switch to chart number 23 and talk a little bit about the cloud, because that's really the subject of this talk. Chart 24, please. I like this quote. It's from Ventana Research, and it really summarizes the benefits that customers see out of the Hadoop deployments. Basically, what it says, the research shows that customers draw real value from Hadoop because they're able to do something that we're not able to do before. They're able to analyze their data that we're not able to analyze before. They're able to analyze it to a deeper level, and they're able to retain more data. We talked about, the key point of or key issue today is inability to retain and analyze the data, and therefore discarding the data that may have value. However, chart 25, please. One of the challenges, though, about of Hadoop is there's no magic to it. It's really a system that allows you to take a complex job and the data and parallelize it across a large-scale cluster. And the large-scale cluster is the key point in here. Is you can see some examples in here. Yahoo, for example, has 40,000 nodes that they run Hadoop on. Facebook has 2,000 nodes and 20 petabytes of data. Not everybody is at the size of Yahoo and Facebook, but we do see that the median size of the cluster, a Hadoop cluster, is about 30 servers. That's a significant amount of compute capacity. And while this is all running in commodity hardware, low cost, it still adds up, both in initial acquisition costs as well as operating costs. So a lot of companies are finding that it's very difficult to get into Hadoop because of this large upfront investment that's required. It's very difficult to get educated in it. It's difficult to get real hands-on experience with it. It's difficult or maybe even impractical to deploy it in production for projects where you do the jobs infrequently. And Hadoop, by its nature, is a batch process. Chart 26, please. So this chart really illustrates a fundamental value proposition of the cloud and the way it applies to Hadoop. I asked a question that says, what insight could you gain if you had access to a 100-node cluster? And typical reaction is, well, that's a lot of processing power. I'm sure I can do quite a bit of damage with that. What's most surprising is if you were to tell people that you can have the cluster of that size on demand and only pay about $34 for its use for an hour. That really is what the cloud is about, and it's a real game changer. It's a real, it really opens up people's eyes. You've seen this chart before, and it really says that the same principles and the same strategy we apply to DB2, they are at play for the Big Insights product and our big data products. It is the same cloud-ready strategy, and we're staying true to this. It's providing cloud-ready technology. It's making sure that we're delivering it in a way that's right for the cloud-based consumption model. It's about being able to offer it on any cloud and help you with the risk. So if you look at the next chart, chart number 28, it shows all the different cloud places where we can deploy Big Insights product. As with DB2, we can obviously deploy it on the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise. And we've partnered with RightScale to be able to deploy it to private clouds, running cloud or Eucalyptus, cloud.com or Eucalyptus stack, as well as public clouds run by Amazon and Rackspace. So again, opening up opportunities for you to use the big data solution in the places where you would want to deploy them to. Chart number 29, please. What the cloud deployment allows you to do is get to the point of deriving value very quickly. we can help you stand up your very own private, dedicated to you Hadoop cluster in 30 minutes or less. You will not have to install, purchase, patch, maintain any hardware. You can deploy this in a variety of places. It can be one of the Amazon clouds, any place around the world, in Asia Pacific. It can be in the IBM cloud, again, in a number of places around the world. It can be in the Rackspace cloud. It is your choice where you deploy that, or your private cloud, something that runs in your own data center. It's a pay-as-you-go infrastructure with prices starting as low as 34 cents per node per hour. As a matter of fact, on the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise, it's 30 cents per node per hour. We do provide this product to you free, no charge. You only pay for the hardware resources that you use. This is our Big Insights Basic Edition. And as I mentioned before, if you do need support, the support is available. If you do need extra function, migrating into the Big Insights Enterprise Edition is as simple as shutting the machine down and restarting it with a different template. It really is that simple. And to speak of that, chart number 30, please. Here's an indication of what we've done with the RightScale.com, and Yuri's going to talk about this next, is we have deployed our templates or the prescriptive ways of deploying Big Insights, if you want, onto the RightScale multi-cloud marketplace. I apologize. I have instant messaging popping up in here. We are relying on a very sophisticated resource management by RightScale. And as I mentioned before, it is available for free. The best part is today we're launching the free course on BigDataUniversity.com where you can actually learn yourself on how to do this in a space of a couple of hours. It's a video-based instruction, very easy to follow, very easy to get done. We do chart number 31, please. Everything I said about being able to offer this on public clouds like Amazon also applies to the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise, and this is really what this chart is talking about. There's also a free course on BigDataUniversity.com on how to deploy Hadoop or IBM Big Insights on the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise. Just as with DB2, chart number 32, please. Just as with DB2, we are using the technologies ourselves for running our educational properties. We're also using the same technologies to help our customers evaluate our products in the cloud. And we have launched an internal product, which is targeting our own information management professionals. We call it IBM Information Management Demo Cloud. And what this product allows us to do, or this offering allows us to do, is to enable our sellers and client technical professionals to be able to help you evaluate our products. So within a space of about 10 minutes, an IBMer can create a complete environment and then pass that environment to you, the customer, to experiment and play with our products on the cloud. Chart number 33, please. Just as we have launched DB2 University, we do have Big Data University. Again, tremendous success in there. A lot of clients getting education on this hot technology. We have run a programming challenge and actually took 3 finalists with us. All expenses paid to the IOD conference in Las Vegas. We all had a great time, and we both learned, both the finalists and us in the IBM. Chart number 34, please. This is really, I wanted to summarize in here of what we have done in the cloud and what benefits it really delivers to our clients. So Big Data data analytics using technologies such as open source Apache Hadoop, it is a great enabler of bringing the value out of vast amount of data, but it is somewhat hampered by the very large resource requirements that are in place to make that effective. Cloud is a good way, I think cloud is an excellent way of solving that very issue. It eliminates the CapEx or the capital expense that you need to put up front to get into the space and allows you to use the pay-as-you-go consumption model for your resources. We have deployed IBM InfoSphere Big Insights. It's a enterprise-ready distribution of Hadoop. We've made that available on a variety of clouds, whether it's you're running the cloud on your own in your own data center, or whether you're using one of the public clouds from Amazon, IBM, Rackspace, and others. You can use these technologies on that cloud. I make an offer again of contacting us at imcloud@ca.ibm.com. We're here. We're ready to help. Give us a call. And last but not least, bigdatauniversity.com, a great place to get some education. It's all free, and it's at your own pace. There's some resources on chart 35 that you can follow up after the webinar. And next, I'd like to pass the baton to Yuri, and he's going to start us from chart number 36.
Thank you very much, Leon. So I'm going to go deeper now into more the practical aspect of what Leon has been describing in terms of the IBM technologies and how you can actually put them into practice. So slide 37, please. And I'm actually going to show you a bunch of screenshots of how things work. But before I do that, I think it'll be useful to take a few minutes to describe RightScale as a company and what we do so that we have the proper context as I show you how you can put this into practice. RightScale is a cloud management platform, and we actually started the week after Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud launch. So we've been doing this about as long as anybody's been in what we're now calling the cloud business. And we're actually running at a pretty decent scale. We keep a counter on our homepage on rightscale.com. And if you go there now, I'm pretty sure now it's past 3.3 million servers launched. So we have quite a large number of customers running lots of environments, some of them significantly in size. In fact, we're really powering the largest production environments in the cloud to date. And our customers really run the full spectrum. Long ago when we started, it was mostly about startup companies that had no legacy systems, so it was very easy to deploy into the cloud. But this has really evolved over time into type of environments that are really targeted at and most beneficial to enterprises. And that's why I wanted to show a sample logos here of some of our customers. On the bottom left there you see American Girl. That's a division of Mattel. The Associated Press, hundreds of newspapers. HTC, a manufacturer of cell phones. Mentor that you see there on the right middle is a division of Johnson & Johnson. Sony Music, the global music company. Eli Lilly, a big pharmaceutical company. And I'm extending this point with, like, say, NTT Docomo, Nippon Telephone and Telegraph of Japan, to really strongly make the case that lots of innovative enterprises have really taken advantage of this technology. And let me explain what I mean when I say this technology. Slide number 38. RightScale, as I said a moment ago, is a cloud management platform. And what we do is we make it faster and easier to deploy environments in the cloud, and we make it dramatically less complex and human capital intensive to maintain those. And I'll actually show you screenshots in a little bit so you can see that these are not just platitudes. I'll show how customers use the technology. If you think about RightScale, it really lies at the intersection of the cloud resource pools you want to tap into, and I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean, that things like Amazon and Rackspace Cloud, and the applications that you want to run in them. So we're a cloud management system that allows you to do things like more quickly with a few clicks deploy a complete Big Insights environment, like Leon was explaining before, or have a user permissioning system in front of all your cloud resources, whether public or private, so you can control what people in your IT department have access to what compute resources that you might have, and have an audit trail so you can see who logged into what, where. And actually, what I'll do is I'll go into some screenshots to give you a better sense of what I mean there. But I want to clarify something before I do that in slide number 39, which is what do we mean by cloud computing? Because nowadays, people sometimes mean significantly different things: software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. I don't want to take time defining those different things here. I know we have mostly or all engineers on this call, and people understand that. I just want to point out where we work, and let's go to slide number 40 for that, is with infrastructure as a service. RightScale as a cloud management platform, you can use it to control those cloud resource pools, and we do that via API calls. So when you're using RightScale to manage your deployments that you have on Amazon and the Rackspace Cloud, we do that by making API calls to those environments. So we don't really play in the realm of software as a service and platform as a service. Going forward here, when I say cloud, I really mean specifically infrastructure as a service and how we automate the deployments that you can create in those kind of environments. And as you can see, we're really big in this area of multi-cloud, making it possible to deploy to different providers. And in fact, if you go to slide number 41 now, here's a map of the world. On the bottom middle right, you see our different partners that provide infrastructure as a service, and you see that there's a number of them. And these are at different stages of deployment, by the way, because we're advancing very, very quickly here. And on the map itself, you can see all the dots where they have data centers. So this idea that from a single control system, you can deploy environments, not just in different parts of the world, but also from different providers altogether. Now, if you look at the left bottom side of the map now, notice it says private clouds. We also work very closely with Eucalyptus, with Cloud.com. The technology is called CloudStack, and now they're part of Citrix, and with OpenStack. And these are technologies that make it possible for you to build your own private cloud in your data center that will behave in many ways or almost exactly like a public cloud, and we can control those too. As a matter of fact, we can control combinations of these so that you can have servers deployed in Amazon and Rackspace in your own data centers, plural data centers around the world that you can manage from a single control system. And there's a lot of sophistication there that we dramatically simplify. And if you go to slide number 42, I will now like to focus on a key area of our technology. Really, mostly everything around RightScale revolves around this idea of server templates. And let me compare and contrast those to virtual machines to give you a better sense of what I'm talking about. So virtualization and virtual servers have been around for a long, long time. And in that model, you stand up a server, spend some time installing in applications, configuring it just the way you need it, and once you have the machine ready, you save it as a big file, as a virtual machine, and you can send up as many copies of that as you want. But a key factor of this is that they're all identical to each other. Well, 4 years ago when we started doing this, we realized that as useful as virtual machines are, most of the time you don't need something that's identical in every way. I'm setting up a new virtual machine of WebSphere. I might need it to connect to a different DB2 database than when I created that VM originally. So now I got to SSH into the machine or log in somehow and make configuration changes. So what we've done with server templates is we've separated the operating system from the business logic of that particular server. And if you look at that diagram on the right side of your screen, you notice two big sections: base machine image and script. So in a server template, it also has a virtual machine, but what we do is we only put the operating system in there. In fact, just enough OS for the machine to boot, and that's it. So we would make an API call to Amazon and stand up a particular machine with Red Hat or SUSE or CentOS or Ubuntu. And once the virtual server becomes operational, we start running scripts at boot time that install and configure things. So if we need a database, we'll boot up a Red Hat or a SUSE machine or CentOS, and then a script will literally install DB2. And because we're doing it in real time, it has the opportunity to configure it. If we need, actually, let's go to the next slide. I'll make it easier to explain that. Let's go to slide number 43. And if we need a Hadoop server, big insights, we, same base machine image, just the plain operating system, but a different set of scripts that install and configure things. And that's where the flexibility and the customizability comes from. The fact that you're building the machine each time gives you the ability to customize it in different ways, to self-contextualize depending on where it is. So there's several significant benefits from this. What you see on the left side of the diagram here on slide number 43 is instead of keeping dozens and hundreds of virtual machines with lots of different operating systems and setups and configuration changes, you can have just one virtual machine for each of the operating systems that you need and lots of different server templates based on that, but just one virtual machine to maintain. So to give you an extreme example, we have a customer running, the last time I asked, 20,000 servers with just one virtual machine. We call those write images, by the way, when it's in our world. Just one write image to maintain for 20,000 servers. Many different server templates, application servers, database servers, other things, but just one machine to maintain. So it simplifies that. And as I was explaining, the other part is the customizability. The scripts themselves are very modular, so it's very easy to add components, take out components, reuse them in different ways. And that's what you're seeing there on the right side of the diagram, only one machine image for each of the operating systems, but the scripts running at boot time, installing and configuring them. So a server template itself is the combination of the base machine image and the scripts that run at boot time. And as I was saying a moment ago, the scripts themselves are modular, so you can move them around and reuse them from different server templates. So slide number 44. If you were explaining this to a coworker at your company that perhaps is not as technical as you are, I'll give you a useful analogy. A virtual machine is like a CD. You can burn as many copies as a CD as you want, but it's going to be identical in every way. Every single bit is going to be the same, so you cannot change the song order or the playlist. I'd compare that to an iPod or an iPhone with a playlist where you can change the songs altogether, the order they're going to play. That's the kind of flexibility that we're talking about. And here I'm just describing at this point at a machine level. We go to slide number 45 now. We can extend that not just to individual servers that I've been calling server templates, which is exactly what they are, a template for a server, but we can actually encode the configuration of a complete environment, and a rather sophisticated one, by the way. We call those macros. And what you're seeing here is your classic three-tier architecture, except in this case it's running in two different data centers for geographical redundancy. And that's the kind of thing that you can encode so that instead of having to spend many hours or probably days and weeks building this, you can quite literally deploy it with a few clicks in an automated way. And by the way, I'm not a DB2 expert, and I imagine there's several or perhaps even many on this phone call, so I'm not making the case for a particular architecture for DB2 and HADR. I just wanted to show an example of the kind of sophistication that you can encode into an automated system so that once you have your blueprint, you can deploy it over and over without having to spend the time each time you want to deploy something with this level of complexity. Slide number 46, please. So let's get into the what does this look like when you want to deploy an environment like this. As I was saying, RightScale is the cloud management platform, and you can do all this from your web browser, and what you're looking at is a screenshot of my machine here. So just like you might use Salesforce to manage your customer list and perhaps the deal your sales teams are working on, here we're using RightScale to manage servers that are deployed in different providers that I can all control from one system. Slide number 47, please. Same screenshot, and what you see that I highlighted there is the different resource pools that I have access from this particular RightScale account. So I kept it really simple for the example. I have one Amazon account and one Rackspace account. Here I could have had several Amazon accounts, several Rackspace accounts, different resource pools, perhaps different divisions of my company, different cost centers. My private cloud or private clouds plural could have been here as well. Again, one place to control many and different resource pools. Now let's go to slide 48 now. Same screenshot I've been showing, but now I'm highlighting the deployments. A deployment is a term that we created for a group of servers that you can manage as a unit. It's a container, it's a logical container of servers. It's a lot easier to group them when they belong to the same application together than to get a long list of servers in alphabetical order by server ID. That doesn't really tell you anything. Here we can see with the color dots what's running and what isn't. And by the way, if you look in the middle, big insights, I created a deployment there. Those dots are yellow because I took the screenshot when they were not fully running yet. In the column in the middle, it says MTD, month to date. I can actually track the cost of each of my individual deployments. And think what that means in terms of visibility and transparency and control. Instead of having one big bill for my data center and not knowing how that really breaks into different pieces, I can actually group things into things that make sense together and see how much it costs. Production versus dev versus staging versus this project versus that other project. Now, as you can see the IBM Big Insights deployment there in the middle, if I were to click on that, let's go to the next slide, number 49, and that's a screenshot of what I would see there. And you can actually see in a little bit more detail that I can see how much that deployment is costing me at the time that I took the screenshot, almost $55 a day, with an estimate of how much it would cost for the whole month. This particular deployment, all the servers running in Amazon's US West Cloud. Notice I can give them nicknames, much easier to track. I have a very simple Big Insights deployment here, by the way, 1 master node and 5 data nodes, but I can see exactly what they are from the names that I gave them, that I chose. But most important of all, based on the explanation I've been giving here, is they're all based on server templates, as I was explaining before. So notice I have the Hadoop IBM Big Insights Basic Edition master node server template and also the data node server template. Now, let's go to slide 50, please. Now we see a screenshot of our library, what we call the multi-cloud marketplace of server templates. And you're seeing a screenshot of a search I did for Hadoop and IBM, actually IBM, because I'm showing DB2 and Hadoop. So here are server templates. I was describing the technology before. You can actually see them. I showed them to you in action with the screenshots of a deployment. Now you see them in the catalog where people can access them. And I highlighted those logos there you might notice with a thick reddish line. And those logos are, if we look at the top one, the IBM Big Insights Basic Edition data node. The leftmost one is the Amazon logo, then there's a Rackspace logo, and then that's the Cloud.com logo. So that's the multi-cloud aspect that I was describing. I can have a single server template. If you remember, I was talking about how all the scripts have the business logic. We have the ability to change the virtual machine from one that works in an Amazon cloud to one that works in a Rackspace cloud, and therefore make it portable. I can have the same server template with my specific configuration, perhaps, running in multiple clouds and available that way. And as I was explaining before, after the server templates, if we go to slide number 51 now, it's not just individual machines, but complete environments that I called macros. And basically, macros is our way to encode all the steps that it would take to build a particular environment, and you can make some decisions along the way as you do that. And IBM has created some macros, as you can see here. It's a screenshot of our library for macros on some sample environments, some of them actually related to Big Data University itself. So that if you look at the second one, create Big Insights deployment, Big Data University, and that's tied to a particular lesson over there. So again, think of the dramatic difference in time to create something from scratch. You're standing up a server with nothing in it, installing the software, configuring, doing all that stuff versus being able to deploy a best practices architected and tested environment with just a few simple clicks. That's the kind of automation and time savings that we're describing here. So slide number 52, please. We are a proud sponsor of Big Data University, and as the people on this call, some of you might know, some of you might not, it's actually free. Anybody can log in and sign up for the different courses that they have related to how to deploy Hadoop environments for analyzing big data kind of projects. And in fact, when you do that, you can get versions of IBM Big Insights in there for free. You get access to RightScale for free. And we actually have participating also Amazon giving credits for the Elastic Compute Cloud so that you don't have to pay anything to be able to do the lessons, have access to the technology itself, roll up your sleeves, and use it. The best thing I can tell you is that the way to know if this is something that can apply favorably to your job, to your company, to the kind of technology challenges that it's tackling, is test it out. And we've removed basically all the friction that you might have so that it's very hard to say, well, I can't because. Well, we made it all not only free, but incredibly simple as well. And you can see all the details there. If you're already registered in Big Data University, the direct link at the bottom actually takes you to a lesson specifically tied into how to deploy some of the things we're describing here today. And I believe that everybody in this call is getting the slides, so you don't need to rush to be able to write all this down for yourself. So slide number 53 has a few more resources. If anybody on this call wants to take advantage of Big Data University and the free access to RightScale that we're describing, and the credits from Amazon, which, by the way, are a limited supply. They didn't give an unlimited number of people and companies access to this. So if you're interested, I do encourage you to act quickly. If you get stuck anywhere along the way, notice on slide 53, we're giving you a phone number and email addresses for both the Information Management Cloud team and the RightScale side so that we can help you in any way that we can. And I strongly encourage you, if you want the Amazon credits, to be able to add quickly. I would advise you to add quickly there before they run out. So with that, let's go to slide number 54, and I would like to ask the operator to please open it up for questions. And Leon, I believe you can help handle the question part. I don't know what the mechanism for that is.
Operator, would you be able to open up the lines for the Q&A?
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star then one. Please unmute your phone and record your name clearly when prompted. To withdraw your question, press star then two. Once again, to ask a question, please press star then one. One moment, please, for the first question.
Also a reminder that if you're listening on the webcast, you can also ask questions within the webcast interface.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. I should also say that we have been answering some questions here on the webcast. I've been answering them as Rava Huja.
At this time, we have no questions on the phone line.
So if people are a little shy, maybe I can answer some of the questions that have been asked on the webcast here. So there were a number of questions around storage and the cost of storage in the cloud. So the answer for that is, and it's quite natural that people would be concerned about the cost of storage, as we're talking about big data. That's a very large requirement for storage. So the answer depends on the type of cloud. So obviously, if you're deploying this into a private cloud, well, that's the storage resources that you would be provisioning yourself in your own data center. If you're talking about public cloud, it depends who the cloud provider is, and it depends the type of the storage that you're using. So I will use one example, which can be, let's say, an Amazon as the cloud provider, and I'll talk about the three types of storage that they do have. So there's a storage type called instant storage, and that's a local disk, if you want, that's attached to your virtual machine. That's a non-persistent storage. It only exists for the life of your virtual machine. So if you were to shut it down, and it will disappear. That storage is free of charge. And the amount of storage you get, that really depends on the size of the instance. It can be as much as 3 terabytes, but more typically for more typical instance size, it's about 1.6 terabytes. There's another type of storage called EBS, or Elastic Block Store. That's a reserved capacity storage. It looks like a real disk, and you can. I believe the charges on there are 10 cents or so per gigabyte per month for reserved capacity. And what we do find that a lot of people use another type of storage in Amazon called S3. It's a more of a longer-term archival type storage, and in there you only pay for the actual storage that you use. And I believe, I'm quoting this from memory, I believe the charge in there is 14 cents per gigabyte per month. Now, all of these numbers, nobody's going to really remember them, so we put together a course, how to run Hadoop on the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise, and a course on how to run Hadoop on the Amazon Cloud. And that course actually has most of the information in there. So I would encourage people to go register for the course.
Leon, what while more questions are coming in, actually I wanted to describe a use case that I think might be interesting for the people on this call, because we all understand the concept of cloud computing, and you got all these servers available at your fingertips to provision with a few clicks, but sometimes we forget how you can put them into practice. So let me describe what one of our customers was doing. They were capturing very large amounts of data on I don't think I can release specific information about their business, but there was a lot of transactions on a daily basis. They were recording data about it, and they wanted to analyze it quickly. So every day, they would stand up a 100-node cluster, and they would pick machines with 8 CPUs each and a terabyte of local storage each. And that would take about half an hour. And in half an hour, they would have 100 terabyte, 800-node Hadoop cluster to run an analysis that took about 3 hours, and after 3 hours, they would shut it down. And a while back, I was talking to them, and I said, well, have you calculated the break-even and when it just makes more sense to bring those servers in-house? And they said, yeah, we did. If we take more than 8 hours a day worth of analysis, then maybe it makes sense to run that in a private cloud as opposed to a public cloud. That's ignoring data sensitivity questions, of course. But then he said something really interesting after the question. He said, well, but once in a while we want to do an A/B test. And on those days, because that's an analysis they do on a daily basis, we send up 2 clusters that run the analysis in parallel. And every once in a long while, we want to do an A/B/C test. Or we want to run 3 different clusters to run 3 analysis in parallel. And that's flexibility that they wouldn't have if they chose to do all that in-house. So there's a lot of interesting options that open up, by the way, when you're tapping into the resources this way. And that's ignoring the fact that you could perhaps run a batch analysis in your own private data center, your private cloud, and you can then offload some work to a public cloud if the case exists where that makes sense for your particular company or use case or needs.
We actually have quite a few questions on the Q&A on the webcast, so I guess most of you are too shy to speak. We'll try to answer them here in person rather than just typing them back in the Q&A. So one of the questions that keeps coming up says, well, so RightScale is here in the webcast. That's great. When is RightScale going to manage resources on the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise? And so I'm going to pass this question to Josh.
Sure, yeah, thanks for that. And we do get that question asked quite a bit. The short answer is soon. We have announced publicly our planned support for IBM Smart Cloud. That is in development as we speak. In terms of a rough date, we're comfortable at this point saying the first half of next year. It's worth pointing out that fundamental to our whole approach towards supporting additional clouds is what Yuri was talking about earlier, which is the ability to leverage this set of design assets, so these Big Insights server templates that are available in RightScale today, and ultimately use them on any of the clouds that we support. So the good news for you is you don't have to wait. Those same server templates that you can access today and run on Amazon, for example, will be the same templates made available on the IBM Smart Cloud when that does go into full GA with RightScale. So we will do the heavy lifting to ensure that those are mapped appropriately so that you don't have to worry about work that needs to be undone. So keep us posted. We do offer beta customers on all the clouds that we support, so pre-release. If you're interested in that, please get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to add you to the list.
Okay, another really persistent question. I guess people really want to know. How do I put my big data into cloud? How do I add capture data to cloud going forward? What mechanisms are available? And many different variations in the same question. It is probably one of the most asked questions when we deal with the cloud. And right after, what about security? There are a number of answers for that. So what we see customers do is many do use network as the way to transfer data into the cloud and get the data out of the cloud. Now, obviously, the network transfers are practical to a specific size of the data and become very impractical and very costly after you go over that size. And that size can be in hundreds of gigabytes but it becomes impractical once you start dealing with terabytes. So there are facilities for making this very simple and easy, and I always say that nothing beats the bandwidth of a UPS truck, and that's actually the preferred way for many of our customers to transfer very large amounts of data into the cloud. Cloud providers do offer capabilities of what they call import-export, where you can send in physical media, so portable disk devices, so a simple SATA drive that you can find in your local computer store, the 2 gigabyte capacity or even 3 gigabyte capacity under $100. You can send it to the cloud provider that will do an import from that data using their high bandwidth, high speed networking locally, and they'll return the media back to you. Again, to give you the plug for the course, Hadoop on Amazon Cloud, we specifically talk about that. That's one of the topics. So I encourage you to take a look at the course. It is free. Now, the other aspect of the question is people say, so how do I continue feeding the data into this? So it is something we see very often, which is the initial load and then the trickle feed afterwards. And the most typical pattern is initial load, which is very large, is accomplished using this import-export mechanism I described, and then using the network to do trickle feed. Yuri, anything you want to add?
Well, the other angle, what's it saying, if Mohammed doesn't go to the mountain goes to Mohammed. You can easily, well, let's not use too much hyperbole here. The other option that you have is you can build a small cloud environment that's next to where your data is in your own private data center, so that using some of the private cloud technologies that cuts down dramatically the amount of work it takes to configure all these machines and servers and setups, you can actually have a rack or two with a Hadoop cluster, or a small one, a medium, a large one, that sits in the same data center as where your data resides, so that you can transfer all this data at LAN speeds or better.
Thanks. That's a very good point. Private clouds, we often get carried away with what's in the press most, which is public clouds. But private cloud is actually top of mind for many of our customers, and Yuri makes a very good point.
In that case, the benefit would be that you're not having to find the hardware, the operating systems, the systems, because you can get it more or less. It's almost like a appliance, but instead of being a machine, it's an appliance of a rack full of big insights or more for a complete environment.
I have another question here. It says, does IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise cover DB2 on ZOS and I-Series? So the answer to that question is no. IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise, as well as Amazon and Rackspace and many of the other public clouds out there, are really designed to use low-cost commodity hardware based on Intel architectures, running Linux and Windows. However, there is a new offering that we have announced, which is called IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise Plus, which is designed for enterprise deployments, which does expand the availability of hardware types as well as the operating systems beyond what you see in a Smart Cloud Enterprise. So if you're interested, stay tuned. It just so happens that ZOS is not one of the operating systems yet. Neither is the i5 OS. However, for example, the Power architecture is available there, and it's going to run AIX. But you will see a rapid expansion of the IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise Plus to encompass the environments that we see in many of the enterprises. I'm going to continue on reading the questions. Does anybody feel brave enough to ask the question themselves on the phone?
If you'd like to ask a question, please press star, then 1.
Okay.
We'll say we have people more comfortable with the keyboard than with the phone.
Right. So let me try to read some more questions in here that have come in. So there's a question. There was a question on I mentioned in one of the slides geospatial and some of the other patterns that we're exploring. So as I mentioned during the presentation, when we talk about big data, we're really talking about, the 3 V's: volume, velocity, and the last one is variety. And I think geospatial really falls into the variety category. It is, there's a great deal of insight that one can gain by taking the data that's available and putting geospatial angle on that. So one example, and it's a well-documented example, it's one of our great customers called Vestas. They're in the business, they're in the energy business. They are the manufacturers and operators on wind turbines for production of electricity. And their business profitability depends on ability to place turbines in the proper location. And to determine the proper location is a very complex task that requires analysis of the terrain, analysis of the wind patterns, analysis of the weather patterns, analysis of the time and other location, as well as accessibility of the site and so on. So as you would imagine, that's a perfect case for something like geospatial data being analyzed or being part of the analysis. And there are many more examples of that, specifically in the energy sector. That's quite common, as it is common in municipal governments, land planning, and so on. It is very popular pattern in retail for deciding store locations, as well as sometimes fairly simple things like the product returns and being able to analyze and suggest a proper integration of online as well as offline brick-and-mortar retailing for product returns, service, and so on. So there's a number of areas where geospatial becomes very handy, and it's just one type of one variety of the data that one would consider. I'm gonna have a question here for Josh, and the question really is around private versus public clouds, and what do you see the value of RightScale in helping build a private cloud?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Leon. So first, in terms of what we see in terms of private versus public, it really depends. It depends on what workload you're running and what specific requirements you need to address for a given application. Some of the common things that we run into are, for example, where the data resides, cost, performance, latency issues, and a lot of times having the flexibility to bring the cloud to you, if you will, and set up a private cloud will make more economic sense and be better suited for performance reasons or compliance reasons than a public cloud. But again, it really is application specific. Our goal at RightScale is to enable whatever option is best suited for you. So we strive to deliver workload deployment freedom and give you the flexibility through a single pane of glass to manage across both public and private. As far as our role is to provide the same orchestration, easy onboarding using these server template approaches, and best practice architectures across your private cloud infrastructure. So very much the same way you would use RightScale to consume on Amazon or Rackspace or SoftLayer, any of the public clouds that we support, to take that experience to your private cloud. And the beauty is you have many different options in terms of hardware selection, hypervisor, networking configuration, and then ultimately the Cloud OS layer, which involves one of our partners, and we support Eucalyptus, Cloud.com, which is now part of Citrix, as well as the OpenStack project. So any one of those three is fine, and you can cloud enable your resource pool in such a way that it can talk and be managed by RightScale.
Thanks. So Josh, this is from my own curiosity. Would you be able to describe any of the hybrid clouds that you've engaged with? Even if you can't name the customers, maybe you can talk about what why they've gone for that approach and what benefits or challenges they see?
Sure. Well, two I can talk about a little bit publicly, and there's been much press about one, and another, there's some information on our website. So the first one is Zynga, and just Google zCloud, and you'll find lots and lots of information they've been public about regarding zCloud. That is their private cloud, and it is managed entirely by the RightScale management system. So they use that to orchestrate all of their workloads for their games across both Amazon as well as zCloud. And the reasons they did it were several, and the ones I can share really fall under this umbrella of a purpose-built cloud. Zynga is obviously in a very specific business. They focus on Facebook games. And so they were able to take zCloud from design all the way up and design it specifically around and optimize it specifically around their games. And that's something obviously that they couldn't do by using Amazon. The other one that there's some information public about on our website is Amdocs, and they built a private cloud using RightScale, and they happen to run an Oracle suite on their private cloud. And again, reasons they did that were more around the flexibility and to dramatically accelerate the procurement and provisioning process to serve their internal customers. What you're able to do within RightScale in a private cloud setup is to literally take a process that typically will take larger companies many, many weeks, if not several months, from the time the request comes in from internal customers to the time that that server is provisioned with whatever software stack needs to be enabled on it, and bring that timeline down to a matter of minutes. So it dramatically cuts into the whole procurement and provisioning process, but maintains the compliant builds and certifications that are required by the internal IT departments. So just two examples, one purpose-built and the second to cut into that procurement and provisioning process with those two customers that I mentioned.
Great. So I have questions continuing to come in on the chat, so I'm gonna try to answer them here. So one of the questions is, we hear this all the time. It basically says, how do you deal with storing sensitive data, financial data, in cloud-based servers? How do you deal with regulations? For example, the ones that the SEC enforces, and what do you do around security, privacy, compliance is probably most important. So cloud is a brave new world, and we can talk about security. There's a great deal of debate in the industry about the cloud security, and by and large, there's a consensus emerging that says cloud security is actually not bad at all. It's actually quite good. In many cases, better than what the typical mid-sized company can afford to do, or even some of the larger companies can afford to do. But real concern is not really security. It really is control and ability to comply. Because one of the things that the cloud providers, and that I think applies to pretty much all of them, will not do is they will not agree to the liability concerns that you may have. So the liability or the compliance with industrial regulations or the governmental regulations is still a concern of the customer. And you don't really have a lot of recourse in being able to resolve the issue with your cloud provider because they will absolve themselves of liability. That's true for IBM Smart Cloud Enterprise, that's true for Rackspace, that's true for Amazon, unless you're able to, you carry enough weight that you're able to strike an agreement where a provider will assume the liability. So what that means is that you have to be careful about choosing what you use the cloud for and what type of cloud you use for. So type of cloud, I think Yuri already aptly mentioned that a private cloud is a good way to ensure that data never leaves your data center and you're in full control of data security, privacy, and most important, can assure compliance with industry regulations. That's one way. At the same time, by building a private cloud, you partake in all the benefits that go with the automation and virtualization and reduced resource usage and agility that the cloud techniques provide. At the other end of the spectrum, you can use public clouds, and we have a lot of people who are in finance sector and healthcare sector and others, which are heavily regulated and compliance laden, that do use the public clouds, but they use them for a different reason. For example, a lot of people use public clouds for very rapidly creating test and development environments. And what do we do in test and development environments? We provide test data into them, which is usually masked. It should always be masked, where the sensitive data is not making it into the hands of developers or testers, regardless of where they are, whether they are on premises or in the cloud. That's just a good thing to do. So I would say that it is not the industry or the regulatory environment that should drive you. It should be the proper choice of the workloads when you decide how to use the cloud and what you want to use it for.
Leon, if I can add a couple of specific examples, as people have been really, well, number one, what I hear is that some of the regulations and standards are changing. There's noise about PCI changing in a way that makes it possible to be more closely or compliant in a cloud environment because of the exact length advantage there, perhaps, but specific workloads. We have a customer who's has a service where they analyze health insurance claim forms for possible fraud. So they score them with an algorithm to see if something looks suspicious in them. And there's a lot of HIPAA regulations about what you can need to control in terms of health records and all that kind of stuff. They did something really clever. They took the names out of the forms before they put them in the cloud for batch processing, so they could actually comply with the regulation. We had a different customer that wanted to run e-commerce sites. I don't know if I can name the name, but a very large music company, customer stores for their artists, but because of PCI compliance, they couldn't put the credit card processing in the cloud. But you know what? But they could put everything else in the cloud. So they just kept one server with the credit card data off the cloud. My point here is that this is one area where the devil's very much in the details. And if you want to discuss this further with IBM or with RightScale, please reach out to us and ask us, because once we understand the specifics, we might be able to bring some more insight to bear that's difficult to address in a very general way.
Thanks, Yuri. So actually, on the PCI, this is one great example of a standard evolving very quickly. So there's now something called the PCI DSS standard, that's sort of called level 1,
yeah. And
it is specifically designed for the cloud operators to comply with, to be able to offer PCI DSS compliant solutions. We are at the top of the hour here, at the end of our webcast. Hopefully this was useful. I am sorry we were not able to actually get to all of the questions here. All of a sudden people became very enthused about asking questions, so we're going to try to continue to answer some of them in the chat. But what I would recommend is that people do try this stuff themselves. We have created the courses. We've made products available at no charge. We've partnered up with RightScale and other cloud providers to even compensate you for any of the cloud charges that you may incur. RightScale was nice enough to provide their developer accounts free for our participants here. So please do take advantage of that. BigDataUniversity.com, db2university.com. Find the courses there. Stand up your own systems. Try it out. Get enlightened. Maybe next time we'll have you on the webcast.
And before we end the webcast, I'd just like to mention a couple of things. One is that going forward, we will have two separate series of webcasts, one for DB2, that is the DB2 chat with the lab, and one for Big Data, the Big Data chat with the lab. The recording of this webcast, we should have the audio recording available within a couple of days and the video recording in a couple of weeks. And you'll be able to find links to both of them on ibm.com/db2/lab-chats. So with that, I'd like to thank the speakers, Josh, Yuri, and Leon, and thank you all for attending. This concludes today's presentation.
Thank you, and thank you for joining today's conference. You may disconnect at this time.
Sorry if I hang up, right?